terms of experiment structure, there are 4 elements that you should go after, that you need to have in your experiment whenever setting up. So the first one is improvement area. The second one is evidence. The third one is assumptions, and the fourth one is prediction. So we'll go through each one of these, and we'll start to give real life examples of how you should structure these experiments and how we've structured in the past. So for example here, since you kind of know where you want to run your experiment, we saw that there might be an opportunity from after people clicking the CTA and then signing up to your product. We need to identify what are we trying to solve in there and what are we trying to improve. So in this case, the improvement area and the problem we're trying to solve here is increase the number of people who sign up for our product after they click on the CTA. We believe we can do this because people that click on the CTA probably have a higher intent to sign up, and we can increase that conversion rate overall. After we identify this, we want to do that, but we need some sort of evidence that shows us that this is a worthwhile investment. And that's where you fill out the evidence piece. And in this area, you can collect qualitative data, you can collect quantitative, it can be prior experiments you ran, some observations that will back our overall experiment here. And one evidence for this case can be that 57% of users go back to our homepage and don't sign up after clicking on the CTA in the hero. Okay, so that's one evidence that we can. There are probably some things we can improve in there. After we collected this evidence, we want to create our assumptions, and these assumptions can be basically what we believe to be true, that can solve the or to make sure we improve in what we identified. In this case here, it can be that we believe that users get distracted with our current sign-up modal, since they can still see the website behind it after they click the sign-up button. So what we're saying here is that we believe there's some distraction in our sign-up modal here that are preventing people to sign up to our product. Now, since we identified already the area we want to focus on, we have some evidence to back us, we believe we know the reason why we're seeing this behavior, we want to make sure that we have our prediction. And this prediction is basically what will happen in case our assumption is correct. And in this case, what we came up with is if we remove the background from a low opacity black background to an all white one, we will see a larger number of people signing up because these users will focus on the right action we want them to do. Okay, this is looking structured right now. We have the problem we're trying to solve, we have the evidence that is backing our assumptions, we have the assumptions in place, and we have the prediction of what would happen here. So now that we know all of that, it's time to design it. And that's also like a super important part of experimentation, because we need to design with impact in mind. So the creative team and you as the PM, or you as the person leading the experimentation effort, you should work very closely with your creative team to make sure that we're taking all the experiment structure into consideration when designing the variants in here. So we need to design variants that isolate as many variables as possible, and that's when the R piece come in, where the creative team will establish the right user experience that at the same time provide something nice and also isolate the variants against our control group. And as you can see here on the slides, we worked with our creative team and we saw that one way that we could we could showcase what we had in the experiment structure is that if we remove the low opacity background to all white, people would focus more. So that was our minimum viable test to make sure that we were increasing sign-up conversion rate at that step of the funnel there. So, okay, this sounds nice. This sounds good, and I believe we now have a clear understanding on how we should structure experiments as an individual contributor. But how do you go ahead and get this done in a company setting where most of the time people will always will need to focus on other areas of the product. They probably have other responsibilities apart from just experimenting with growth efforts here. So here's the process I recommend that people should go through whenever running experiments. The first step, where I believe it's the most important one, is stakeholder alignment. You, as the person leading this effort, should be the one communicating with each and every single stakeholder that you envision will be part of this process to make sure that they understand the structure that you provided, why you're experimenting this, explain why you're running, the potential impact, and align on timeline and bandwidth to make sure that people understand that this will come, this initiative is coming. Share documents with them, an experiment doc, to make sure that they align with you. After like 1 or 2 weeks, where you talk to a bunch of people, they know that this is coming. It's time to work with individual pods. So work with your design team to align on what are you trying to accomplish, provide resources, set the boundaries for learnings. So we cannot change as many things. We need to make sure that the content stays the same. We're just changing what we want to validate, and let them come with the best user experience possible given these boundaries. After you worked with sprint, with the design team on the sprint, make sure the handoff to engineering, if you need engineering this experiment, is as smooth as possible. Make sure that you address any possible concerns. If there are any dependencies, make sure to address them too, and give as much context to engineers as possible to how this experiment should behave. At the same time, connect with your data team, if you have one in-house, to make sure all instrumentation is good, success metrics are looking good, the sample size is feasible, and to make sure we gather learnings quickly. And last but not least, go through a QA process. If you don't have a QA team in your company, make sure you do this with your engineer or designer to make sure that this experiment is behaving correctly.